All right, I'm here with my client, Alana Orr, and it's quite disturbing that we live in the year 2025 and the New York State Senate itself is saying that the family court in the state of New York is in crisis. Obviously, there's a lot going on. No matter who you are, everybody can agree there's a lot going on. And I think also everybody can agree that one thing we need to do is to protect our children. Now, you might
Yes.
say, I am protecting my child, blah, 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 blah. I'm not trying to be demeaning towards you, the individual, but we need to do that systemically as well. And we also have to recognize that our society is one in which a lot of people get divorced. And even if you say, I'm never that, a lot of people get divorced. And then if families have children and they're getting divorced, very often, not always, but very often, it's up to the system to determine through the process that is a mess what we're going to do with these children from divorced parents. What the visitation is going to look like, who's going to get custody, who makes the decisions. And there's a lot that goes into forensic examinations, evidence, a lot of stuff. And I'll tell you right now, I've been doing this family court stuff as an attorney for quite a few years now. And not only I, but other people that I've become familiar with who really do care will tell you basically that the system needs to be burned to the ground, start all over again, and that way we can have a system where people who are making decisions and hearing and looking at stuff and et cetera, actually care and are making wise decisions so that we can do right by our children.
That's right. Because right now it's a money based system. And the more egregious the abuse and the more reason to terminate a parent's rights, the more they are likely to give that parent custody and go against the protective parent. Josh was just talking about, divorcing parents through the family court system. That obviously is happening at large rates. I was never personally
Let me
married.
just, I don't mean to cut you off, but let me just say, a lot of people do not speak out who have been through the difficulties and the horrors of what happens to them in family court because they're afraid of retribution. And it's a real thing.
That is very
So
true.
we really need to give Alana a tremendous amount of points and credit and whatever. She's not just doing this for herself, although she's lost her daughter through this horrible system.
I've been retaliated against severely, and I am afraid for the consequences of speaking out.
But you know what? She's going to do it because A, she's afraid of the situation that her daughter currently is in, and B, she wants to, yeah, I'm sorry, say whatever the hell you want to say. She and I want to make the world a better place, okay? Call us crazy. I'm tired of it.
Yeah.
The people that are fighting and working to make the world a better place somehow are crazy, and the thing to do is just to get into your own thing and forget about how crazy the world has become. I don't think so. So Alana deserves a lot of credit for stepping up, being willing to tell her personal story about what's happened to her, and then I will say, and I will hopefully educate you. I don't know, nobody needs to be educated. I know, I understand. I need to be educated about a lot of stuff, and so do you. Okay, let's get beyond this whole I know everything, because nobody knows everything, and we need to kind of be able to hear from other people and learn from other people, and not just get stuck in our whatever, and learn and progress. Yes, I'm a progressive. Sorry. I'm also a conservative. I think like we should go back 30, 40, 50 years to when things were simpler and life was better. I'm like all this stuff. I just want this stuff to change. It ain't good. I think almost everybody can agree with that now.
Mm-hmm.
So Alana's going to tell you some stuff about her own personal story, and I'm going to try to shine a light on why that's happening, what happens in the system, what the rules are, how horrible it is, and encourage you to get involved. A lot of stories going on and situation, that story, it's real, it's not a story at all. It's a horror story, if anything. And what we want to do is we want to have an event on October 31st, Halloween, because this is a real life horror story, not just what's happening to Alana, but what's happening in the system and what's happening to our children, et cetera, et cetera. And we want to bring people together who are crunching the numbers. Ulster County is where her situation is going on. Judge McGinty, as Alana and I have started to like to call him, Judge McGilty.
Mm-hmm.
And we'd like to bring people together to help Alana to stop what's happening with her child. And once we feel like we've done that, maybe we can then feel like, wow, this is a group of people. There's 182,000 people that live in Ulster County. We'd like 1,800, whatever, somewhere around that number, to show up in October. We'll let you know the details later. We haven't really figured it out yet. We'll let you know where to come, how to get involved, and then we want to flood the governor's office with phone calls every day. 1,800 phone calls. 1,800 people show up. 1% of the overall people that live in Ulster County. Get involved, help Alana, and then who knows what we can do after that. So, Alana, tell the people about what's going on here.
Well, I just remember the day my daughter was born. I'm just going to start there. I was in a violent relationship with her father. He was violent with me. And I just remember the lack of support, from the doula that I hired to, my family, friends, society responds to victims of domestic violence in a way that, really minimizes and invalidates the victim's experience. And that's a general thing that happens. And just so when my daughter was born, I was never married to her father, and there was this likelihood that he wasn't even going to be there at the birth, and he ended up showing up, and just because he was there, he signed the birth certificate and the acknowledgement of paternity, which I was told to sign if I wanted to collect child support, and I just remember them saying, the consequences of signing an acknowledgement of paternity. And I'd never heard the word consequences used in that way before. Of course, I was like, there's no way I'd ever lose custody. I'm the safe parent. I'm the safe person. It never crossed my mind that just by signing an acknowledgement of paternity, that would give him the right to take custody of my daughter that I tried to protect and he abused. And that's what happened. He continued to abuse me. He abused her. I procured an order of protection against him when my daughter was a year old. We separated. He moved out. I was evicted from my dwelling then as a single mother. I needed to get on welfare, and the system went after him for child support. And, he didn't like that he had to pay child support. He went after me for custody. He didn't like that I reported his abuse to the police. And he told me that he'd make sure I never saw my daughter again. And he's been successful in alienating me from her, even though we were never married. Even though at the time of her birth, I had the right to choose her last name. I had the right to deny signing the acknowledgement of paternity. Had I known the consequences of doing so at the time, I never would have done it. At the time, and it's looking back, hindsight is 2020. They say it's really easy to get married and really difficult to get divorced, and it's easy to get into a relationship. Obviously you do that without knowing that the person is violent and abusive, and it's really difficult to get out. And I think 70% of all murders in violent relationships happen when the victim is leaving. And um, the abuse doesn't end when you leave the relationship, it continues in post separation legal abuse. And they use this system and threats against your child to, you know, continue the abuse. And that's what he has done um, her entire life.
And one of the things, they say, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, and but I don't think there's any, like, a lot of these things that are termed conspiracies, as we can see with, like, Epstein and all this stuff going on in this world. I don't know if I can call anything a conspiracy anymore. UFOs, aliens, they probably do exist. They've hid it from us. I mean, there's a lot going on. So, one of the things my clients and people that I know have been saying is that the system tends to give the child to the worst parent because they know that the better parent will fight tooth and nail and keep the system busy. And if it was, the system, as Alana said before, it's a money making system. I mean, I haven't really looked exactly how it all works, but I'm fairly certain that, the busier the family courts are, the more money they get from the state, the more money the state gets from the federal government. And they all know that.
Yes.
And so they want to be busy. They want things to be complicated. The attorneys make more money. The forensic examiners make more money. Everybody makes more money. And since we live in a capitalist society, don't call me, label me a socialist, whatever. I'm just saying, there's problems with capitalism. And certain things should be out of the umbrella of capitalism. And how we deal with our young, innocent lives should not be affected by the greed of forensic examiners and judges and attorneys and all these other people working in the system.
Children are not commodities.
It's really terrible.
Yeah, they're human beings, their lives, and they're treated like slaves.
And then they wonder, wow,
yeah,
it's in crisis. Holy shit, our family court system is in crisis. I think I could have predicted that if you base how you're going to deal with young children and figure out what to do about, with the divorced parents, it's going to end up in crisis. It's predictable if you base that on money. If you base that on greed and attorneys' selfish, greedy, what else do you think is going to happen? And now they're saying, wow, it's happening. Of course it's happening. And they're not going to do anything about it, really. They're making too much money. We need the people to get involved. Burn this fucking thing to the ground and start over again. There's no other way to do it. It's based on the wrong stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's based on money for the people involved rather than the justice. And, call me crazy once again, but we're having a lot of violent crimes. How many of those kids came from divorced parents that went through family court? This isn't the only state this is happening.
It's trafficking. It's keeping families in the system. They traumatize the parents and they traumatize the children, and the children grow up. There's the ACE study, ACE, Adverse Childhood Experiences study, that shows that when you are a child and you experience, a certain number of ACEs, in various forms, and one of those things is sudden absence of a primary caregiver, divorce, abuse, things like that. The child grows up to live a 20-year less than average lifespan, is more likely to experience disease and obesity and drugs and alcohol addiction.
And let's just get back into what I think, for whatever reason, humans are like wired to want to hear about specific stories, specific people. And Alana had really solid information that her child's attorney, for whatever reason, didn't want to use.
So there was evidence, proof of, valid proof that would be, used to convict him in criminal court if we were in criminal court. But because we were in family court and their objective is making money instead of protecting the child, even though statutorily they're required to act in the best interest of the children, they don't do that. They're more concerned about child support payments, keeping the money flowing, keeping customers for lifetimes. So, in spite of the damning evidence against my daughter's father for what he did to my daughter, the child's attorney would not present that evidence to the court, denied the existence of the evidence, lied, repeatedly lies. And, as a result, I asked for her to be removed as my daughter's attorney, and I was instantly retaliated against. And
they changed the judge from one judge to the other. And this is the kind of stuff they do. They're not stupid. They're really not stupid. But, and this is before I became a lawyer attorney, so you can't blame it on me. Don't say I'm the stupid idiot. I might be a stupid idiot, but I wasn't there. So this new judge, Judge McGinty, who we like to call McGilty, consolidated the docket. Okay, so he's taken over. He wants to consolidate the docket. This is the kind of stuff they do. And what did he do in the process of consolidating the docket? He dismissed all of the
family offense petitions
that she had against the guy who did these things to her daughter. So McGilty, basically, essentially, for whatever reason, didn't want this information to come to light of day, didn't want it to be seen, and basically, essentially, for lack of, so that everybody could just kind of understand where we are, dismissed, which essentially erased all of the stuff she was going to use in court at trial against this guy, which was substantial evidence. Yes. And all of a sudden, McGinty just erased it.
Yeah. Family offense petitions are petitions for an order of protection. And before McGinty took over the case, I had Marian Mizell, and on the arraignment for my petition, they ordered the order of protection against me, the one that I was petitioning for, and denied me all contact with my child for 2.5 years.
So let's just break that down for our audience. So you filed an order of protection for the father of your child to stay away from you and your child, correct?
Yes.
And
based on evidence.
And what the system did was use that as a way to keep you away from your child.
Correct.
And the reason you believe they did that was because what? You were saying things in this order of protection that were against Amy Ingram, who was the attorney for your child?
So that was a separate motion I did file to request to remove her as my daughter's attorney. But I filed these petitions for orders of protection.
My question, though, was what was there's a reason the system turned everything against you? For our
because
audience,
they had already
that.
pre-planned the trial.
Yeah, but give them substance.
So my attorney said, I think you have PTSD. And
based on what? Because you were talking about the allegations of abuse that your ex perpetrated against your child, right?
And me, yes, because PTSD stems from abuse. In this case, I experienced trauma. Everyone is aware of it, and so did my daughter, and everyone's aware of it. And a person who experiences trauma, has symptoms of PTSD. So that was my lawyer's angle at the time, and he advised me not to file this petition for order of protection. I had substantial evidence I wanted to get before the court because I really needed to protect my daughter. That's my MO. So he was mad that I did it against his wishes, that I filed the petition. He told me not to file. And that all came at the same time as,
He
me.
told you not to file it. Why?
Yeah, why?
I'm
Why?
asking you. Why did he
I
tell you
would
not to
like to
file
know
it?
that too.
He didn't
Oh, my
explain.
my explanation is, and
I'm asking you what your attorney said to explain to you why you shouldn't be filing this.
this is the same attorney that told me I can't go waving medical evidence in front of the court and expect them to order something to protect my child.
Because it's all the old boys network.
Yeah.
They're all trying to protect themselves. They probably realized that at some point along the line, Amy Ingram was not doing the right thing and acted unethically. And they're trying to protect her because she's part of the team. And then not really looking out for the best interest of the child. So we eventually, Alana got in touch with me, along with a couple of her friends who also had been mistreated and their children mistreated in family court. And they said, we need to buy Judge McGinty. There was a big article in the New York Post talking about how he sides with abusers over the abused. And we sued him in federal court. And maybe you haven't heard this term, but the term is judges judging judges.
Right.
Never works. And that's why we need you, the people, to care and get involved. We figure we need like 1% in Ulster County. And because filing things, recusal motions, the judge who you're filing the recusal for gets to decide whether they're going to recuse themselves or not. Federal court, it's not, for the federal court to decide. This is a state matter. Appeals hardly ever are successful. The whole thing is a mess.
Yeah. There's
and
no
the
justice.
only solution is you. It's the only solution. It's the only solution.
That's
Stuff's
true.
not going to work with courts and other judges and the system, and it's not going to work. We sued federal court. We had good stuff. I got to depose Judge McGinty, which, to be honest with you, was kind of fun. I got to ask him, so you put a stay-away order against my client to stay for her own child because she said one thing to you in court. He basically admitted that that's what he did because he knows I got immunity, bro. What are you going to do to me? I have immunity. So whatever you want, I'm just telling you the truth. Yeah, I put a stay-away order against your client to stay away from her child based on something she said to me because my thin skin was hurt. My ego was damaged, and I didn't like it. And then I proceeded. I said, and I'm not trying to tout my own ego or anything like that.
I said he didn't have jurisdiction.
I'm not the
That's
best attorney in the world, and Alana might think she is, but she's not either. Okay, we're just regular people trying to say, like, what the fuck? That's all we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I proceeded to ask him, so did you call any of the authorities? Because he said he was afraid of what Alana might do to her child. Did you call the authorities? Nope. So you put a one-year order to stay away from my client to stay away from her own child because you were afraid for the child, but you didn't call the authorities, didn't call the police, didn't call nobody.
Mm-hmm.
So what are you... I mean, I don't know if I'm explaining this the best way, but it became obvious that he was concerned about the fact that she said one thing to His Highness, didn't like it, and retaliated by putting a 1-year stay-away order against her to stay away from her own child. What kind of person does this shit?
Yeah. And I'm a fit mother. I was never found unfit.
Never found to be an unfit mother. And you put a 1-year...
There were no allegations against me. They never accused me of committing a family offense. And he said that it was on consent when I didn't consent. So it's fraud.
It's bullshit.
Yeah.
It's really bullshit. And once again, we need you to become involved And we'll have follow-up episodes. We'll explain more to you. We'll ask you to um, you know post this on your friends whatever sites there are on Facebook. It's like the only way really now. TikTok, whatever. I'm not a social media guy, but whatever you can do to help. And Alana's got her own Patreon. I guess they can get in touch with you through that.
Yeah, patreon.com/Alana Orr.
Did you get that? Patreon.com/Alana, ALANA .org? Or just Alana?
Or
So
O-double-R.
Give it to him again.
ALANA ORR.
Give him the whole thing.
Patreon.
Patreon.
patreon.com /ALANA ORR.
All right, folks. So, there's enough going on in this world, but Surgeon General or the Attorney General or one of these general people said that, the ultimate moral test of our society is how we take care of our children. We got to do it. Step up, people. Thank you.
Yeah.